Welcome to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk, a show about ancient coins from the viewpoint of a seasoned professional with nearly 30 years' experience. Here's Aaron Berk and Mike Nottleman on the Ancient Coin Podcast.
And that sound means it is once again time for the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. I'm Mike Nottleman.
I must be Aaron Berk.
You must be. So one of us has to be.
Somebody
Somebody has to. On tonight's show, we are going to take a look at some of the things that interest Aaron in recent auctions. Also, we're going to do a little preview of some upcoming auctions, which is always kind of nice. You can see Aaron's predictions and kind of see how things shake out next episode. As well as we typically have a Pearl of Wisdom. And tonight, as far as the Doofus purchase, we have no Doofus purchase.
We sort of do, but it's not really. But we'll talk about it.
It's not as egregious, so
No. It might be for some, but not necessarily for all. So we'll find out. So as we've done in the past, we are going to review what we looked at last show. And last show we looked at the CNG electronic auction number 571, which closed September 25th and 26th. And let's go back over and look at lot 34, Mike.
34 it is.
So this Lantini actually, it only went for 1,700 hammer. I think that was a really good deal. I would have, if I had this in my shop, I would have easily asked $2,750, maybe $2,450 to $2,800 in that range. I think that's
Really nicely centered, well struck.
It's one of my favorite
All
dies.
the elements are really there. It's nice.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite dies, actually. I mean, yes, it's a little worn, but but these sometimes come with this look. This die in particular with the large ear. And but I think somebody got a really good deal on that. I think overall my impressions of the CNG sale was nothing runaway, all in line, some good deals to be had. I thought that it wasn't the typical crazy runaway prices that we have seen in the last few years. So I think that's a good sign for
at least
people.
Close to the estimate, and looks like it went for a really reasonable price.
Yeah, and CNG would say that their estimates are wholesale. So in most cases, I don't know if that's necessarily true all across the board, but in general, that's their rationale. And so if that's your rationale, then somebody got this close to wholesale. So, and I kind of have to agree with that on some level. The next coin is lot number 51. And we did the whole educational section on these coins. And
this one is beautiful.
Well, they all kind of come in state. This one's quite nice. This one I thought went very cheap as well. So I think I probably said $1,800 to $2,400. So it's right in the realm of where it should be. Again, if I had this and I put in a buyer bid sale, I would have marked it like $2,350 because it's perfectly centered. All three figures are relatively strong, perfectly centered on both sides. Not a lot of die rust there from the strike, which a lot of these can have. And so I think somebody got a decent deal on this as well.
Yeah, no, the dies are clear and the coin is really nice. It looks fresh. It looks, yeah.
It's true. And so hopefully somebody listened to the show last time, saw the educational and decided that they liked that thought this was more Brutus than Scythian and for the Civil Wars and got a good deal.
There you go.
Oh, we'll see. So, but that was kind of my impression of the auction itself. Moving on, we didn't really preview this, but I thought it'd be interesting to talk about it now. And it was, I don't know if you guys have noticed this one, but the Noonan sale. We haven't really talked about Noonans. They generally don't do coin auctions. They're starting to come a little bit stronger with coins. And And
So where is Noonan's headquartered?
they're in London, England.
London.
Yeah. So they had a fantastic sale. So they had actually two auctions, two separate collections. This was a single family's collection. This one we're looking at here. Every coin, pretty much every coin is pedigreed before 1970. Most of them have pedigrees into the early 20th century up to like 1940. Hardly any coins weren't plate coins in specific references. All of the coins went. The proceeds were going to the Ashmolean Museum in England. So, and it, I don't know if they were housed there at one time. It's possible. But I know when I bid in this auction, and at the beginning of the sale, they said the curators from the Ashmolean were there in the auction room. So obviously it was a big deal. The coins were, I've never seen this kind of pedigree across the board. So that was really exciting. And if you guys get a chance, go and check it out on Numisbid. If you just go to closed auctions and just scroll down to the September 25th Noonan sale, you'll find both sales.
Auction 306 is the one that we're looking at.
Yep. So a couple to kind of look at that are like just stellar coins, but that we've seen a lot of. So lot 94, fantastic signed Kimon. You can see the KI on the headband. So these are Syracuse Decadrachms, and we've talked about these many times in the show. It's one of my favorite coins in the whole Greek series, and it is for a lot of collectors. If you don't have a Decadrachm in your collection and you collect Greek coins and you're somewhat serious, and you obviously have to be able to afford them too. But I've seen Decadrachms as cheap as.
Especially,
yeah. Well, I've seen Decadrachms as cheap as $3,000 or $4,000, but they're really lousy. I mean, really lousy. So they've kind of gotten out of control the last few years. I think, this one, if you scroll down, you'll see the pedigree at the bottom. So it came from SNC, 1943, province from the Woodward collection, very important collection at the time. It was, 65,000 pounds is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money for this coin.
Well, this is also a really big coin.
Yeah.
And she's got a really cool die crack.
Yeah. So a lot of the Kimons will have that die flaw going through the eye there. That's pretty common. You do see that, but it's hard to get really nice, clear signed Kimons. I think this went for cheap. Personally, that's what I think. With the pedigree, with the nice strike, and the clear signature, I think it was a reasonable price for that, even though that's a ton of money. The next lot, not so cheap, the Uenetos Decadrachm. That's lot number 96. I would even put this on the level of nearly Doofus, and this is what I was saying, that this could constitute a Doofus purchase on some level. It is a fantastic coin. It's a signed Uenetos. I don't know if it's worth you got to figure, guys. So the other thing, and we'll get into buyers premiums. This buyer's premium for the Noonan sale was 24%. 24% is a ton of money. And we'll talk more about that in my discussion. I'm kind of replacing the educational section with more of a discussion on commission rates. But, Noonan's typically doesn't have a sale. A lot of estate auction houses have very, very high BPs. Some of them are at 30%, 28%, or even higher. So, but in the coin industry, for a long time, it was 20%, and then the norm became 22.5%. So at 24%, it was kind of like, unusual to pay that. And then you're dealing with the pound to the dollar, which I just bought pounds for my purchases, and it was $1.35 per. So you're losing.
That's actually pretty good right now.
Well, no, it was about $1.30 not long ago, so it's up a little bit. The
I thought
dollars
it was
the dollar's weakened, but overall, yes, it's cheaper than it was years ago. Years ago, it was as high as 250.
right.
So, but at 150,000 pounds plus 24% plus the pound of the dollar, it's over $200,000. That's a lot of money for this coin. So it's a great coin. It fits into a category of decadrams that somebody who's collecting decadrams at the highest level would need for sure. But it was a lot of money. I was not expecting that. So I'm not going to necessarily call it doofus, but it's definitely borderline. So
It's working on it.
right.
It's in
And
the group picture.
some people would say the next one is even more of a doofus. So if you go to lot
I was starting to wonder about that.
number 214, so this is a very rare Crete coin stater from Kenosis, and it's one of the 100 greatest ancient coins. And this one actually is better than the one that's in my dad's book on the 100 greatest. And now the estimates in the sale were ridiculously cheap. So, and I can tell you why.
Clearly.
So, the last one to sell was at NAC last year, and it was nowhere near as nice as this. And it brought $180,000 hammer. So over 200,000 Swiss francs. Sorry. So it was over $200,000 with the BP. And it also had an old pedigree, but this one has a stellar pedigree. This is like Neville, 1926. It's SNC, 1944. And it was part of an exhibition on Greek art in 1903. So, I mean, this really is probably the finest type for this. And I expected it to go between 300,000 and 400,000 pounds.
Wow.
And so it was on the bottom level of where I thought it was going to go. So I feel good that I was able to predict where I thought it would end up. But again, you never know how these things land. I don't consider it a doofus because I really, if you can compare it to the one that sold for 180,000 Swiss francs, this is miles better. So, so I think it's right in line where it should be. I can't imagine a better one coming up. It's always possible, but to get a great coin, a rare coin, pedigree, I mean, it has it all.
So regardless of whether or not this actually is the finest known, it's still in the highest caliber. So
right, absolutely. And if you don't know these coins, so a lot of the coins from Crete will have the Labyrinth on the reverse, and you have the Minotaur on the obverse. And the Minotaur was trapped inside the Labyrinth. He was basically imprisoned there, and they would send maidens down in there, and he would eat them, essentially. And eventually, I forget which hero came in and actually went down and actually killed him. So anyway, so a lot of people collect these coins for the Labyrinth. You can get all types of denominations of the Labyrinth and different images on the obverse, but this is one of the more pinnacle ones and why it's one of the 100 greatest ancient coins.
There you go.
So so there we go. So again, check out Noonan's. It was really great sale. It's good to just look at these things. There was some videos of some of these coins. I mean, you can hit the video on that one if you wanted to, Mike. There's a video. I think there's a video button right there, so you can actually see the coin. So, and that's what's nice. Like I've talked about, we've done videos for years. Now everybody seems to be following suit.
Cloth gloves bug me.
Yeah, I don't like gloves. I hate the gloves. Can't stand them.
More likely to drop a coin with cloth gloves.
I think you're going to drop it. I think that people who think that they're going to hurt the coin by handling it with their fingers, unless your hands are wet or you just got done eating peanut butter right out of the jar with your fingers, I don't think you have much to worry about. So,
and would that really hurt the coin?
Right. And you're going to handle it on the edge. Even in US coins, you can handle US coins on the edge. It's not going to hurt them. So, and it's more of like people worry about with US coins because of the mirror finishes. You don't want to put a fingerprint on it. So with ancient coins, you're not going to leave a fingerprint.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not gonna happen.
it's definitely not an issue with ancient coins, and I will tell you that I even hate them with US coins. And it's for this simple reason that because you are more likely to drop the coin. And
It's true.
cloth has a texture to it, whereas
Mhm.
latex does not.
Mhm.
So if you're going to use gloves, do no harm. It's like you're not going to take dirt from one coin to another if you do use fresh gloves with, each time you examine coins.
I never liked when we started doing videos. I never wanted to use gloves because I think it distracts in the video itself. I think it distracts. It
Mhm.
also makes it look like you shouldn't be handling these things, and I think that that's wrong. I think that we should be teaching that it's okay to handle these things as long as you handle them properly. And then thirdly,
Well, you're not going to be using it as a worry stone. You're not going to be rubbing it against your knee.
right. And the last one is what you just mentioned. When you're touching it with your fingers, you have senses in you have nerves in your fingers that know where the edges are. When you're holding it in gloves, you don't know where it's
And it slips. It just
you're going to have a better chance of dropping it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really dangerous. I've seen like auction houses using blue gloves. I'm like, really?
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't think so for ancient coins, but for US coins, that's what I actually prefer. And it's like I said, because they have no texture to them.
Right. But the problem is if there's a lot of color in the glove, it starts to reflect into the coin. And then you get a color that's not necessarily there.
See,
And
you're being a video producer, and I'm just looking at conserving the coin.
Correct. I get it. Well, I mean, it really has become a science in doing videos. Like I was
Just
watching
clear gloves.
Well, I've been, now because we've been doing
Or
videos,
black.
we've been doing videos for so long at HJB that
Mhm.
and I've trained, Craig, who does our videos at HJB, I've trained him just to barely turn the coin enough to be able to get the light going over the surface so you can see all the luster or all the flaws or whatever the case might be, and not to turn it so much that you're distracting. And I see people turning it like almost flat. And I'm like, what are you doing that for? It's like, it's distracting. And
Corinne
so
was really good at it.
she was really good at it. That's right. That was our videographer from before.
Yeah.
So, but it really is a science, and we take great care in doing the videos. And I'm happy that a lot of the auction houses are starting to do more and more of their coins, not just a select few. But it is a job.
You do have to realize that this is going to be most people's first impression of the coin.
Sure.
So you want it to be a good impression.
Sure. And we've showed, we showed coins that you look at the photo and then you bring it up on a video and it's like night and day in how they look. So it really does make a difference. So, okay. So moving on, we're done with review. I thought I would go to an auction house I hadn't really looked at too often. And it is it is called Mutzenz Rheinland. And it's obviously auction house in Germany. And, there's a lot of auction houses now. These guys, I actually was curious. They've been in business for 50 years. I don't really remember them. I probably have met them, but maybe they haven't done a lot of ancient auctions before. I'm not sure. But I don't remember seeing their stuff before. So,
so I thought quite a few lots.
Oh yeah, they have a ton. So, so I thought we would, sometimes you look at some auction houses you never looked at, and let's look at it together as a community.
Sure.
So the first lot I picked out because I thought was interesting was lot 55, and the reason I picked it out is because I hate this die. I can't stand it. If you've looked at Larissa Drams, my dad was collecting Larissa Drams at one time. And this face of the nymph, they never come like this. They usually have a sharp nose. She looks like she's possessed, and I was even questioning if the coin was even real because the die looks so weird to me. So, and it's just a feeling I had. So
It just looks smashed.
it's smashed, but there's something about the dye quality that's weird. I'm sure it's real, but it just gave me a weird feeling. These are these gut feelings you get. And so for me as a dealer, I just pass on this kind of stuff. It's just not worth it. I don't want to own it. I don't want to sell it. Even if it's real, the dye doesn't really fall into the class that a lot of these fall into. It's just not pretty for the type. And so you really, even if you're going and looking at an auction house that might think you might get a good deal, sometimes you have to pass on coins because the dyes just don't merit purchasing. And maybe it is a problem. Maybe it's not a problem. Who knows? But to me, it's better just to make a pass. And so I wanted to show this just to give you an example of like, sometimes you just have to pass on the coin. Decadrachms are very popular because of their 3/4 facing view and the horse. But there's just something about this coin that I don't like. And so that's why I wanted to kind of bring it up. So the next lot is lot number 63. And what I love about provincial coins, is that it's kind of endless. And this is not a pretty coin by any means, but
It almost looks like it has green disease.
no, it's just got a green patination.
It's just a tint on the photo.
Yeah. And it's probably a crappy photo on top of it. It's probably darker green than it really is showing here.
Right.
This is where a video would probably help it out quite a bit. But so this was minted in the Bosphorus region, and under Thrace under one of the kings there, but under the umbrella during the time of Nero and his wife Agrippina Jr. So you have Nero here on one side. It doesn't look like anything like Nero at all. And then you have Agrippina on the other side. And this is when you're dealing in the provinces. You don't always get good die cutters. They're not always very realistic, but it's kind of endless with the amount of types that you can get. And so that's the beauty of provincial coinage. And so, and of course, it's in German, so you have to get your translator out and Google it sometimes just to make sure, that they weren't saying something that, that you may want to have known. So, but I like the quality of the Agrippina on the reverse. I think it has some nice character on it. And other than that, it is what it is. But I thought it was interesting and cool to bring up. And then the last coin is a Caligula ass. And I just, this is kind of an example I wanted to bring up. Yeah, it's the obverse is fantastic. The reverse it looks like it has some smoothing on it. And when I say smoothing, it means that when we've talked about this, when you're cleaning bronzes, you're going to have that hard incrustation from the earth on both sides. And as you're scraping it off with a scalpel or whatever they're using, sometimes they get into the surface a little bit. And it's possible that they may have smoothed this a little bit. Tooling is more if you're adding detail that's not there. I don't think the obverse has been smoothed. It's possible, but it has like this nice mirror finish to it. I don't see any, it doesn't look like the fields have been lowered so much.
Right.
It's possible if you got it in hand, it would feel a little bit different, but I can definitely feel the difference in the surfaces between the obverse and the reverse of this coin, but it's still a very lovely coin for the type. And with bronze coins, you're going to always get a little bit of smoothing. That's just the way it is. And that's why I said NGC has to change their model on how they grade these coins because, or as I was told by the head of NGC Ancients, I have to teach you all that smoothing doesn't matter. So
sure. Well, okay. So here's my like novice take on it is that the obverse has the surfaces of a modern coin with how smooth they are. And that would be okay with me if the reverse didn't look so kind of pitted and tooled. So I have to say that in my opinion, somewhere, yes, this has been, it almost looks like it's been puttied on the reverse. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think
well, I'm not saying in the traditional sense. I'm saying kind of like, it's kind of like stuccoed. Where it looks like as they were cleaning it, they might have gone a little bit too far. So they put a little something on the surface, kind of make it, a little bit more even.
And they may have done that. They may have done that on the Arborist. It just had smoother surfaces on the Arborist.
Yeah,
they may have.
No, absolutely. It just ended up looking better.
You know, sometimes people will put like museum wax on bronze coins because it helps. Because sometimes the coins look really dried out, and so museum wax will give it a little bit of a wet look, and so it'll actually bring out the surfaces. So it could be that this was waxed, and so that's what's giving it that look. We used to do that with antiquities all the time because it also is a good way to keep bronze disease away at times because you're kind of protecting the surfaces by giving it kind of like a coat of suntan lotion essentially. And so, and then it gives it a nice popping look as well. And it doesn't hurt the metal at all. So that's why they call it museum wax because they used to do it in the museums. So it's, but I thought it was interesting bringing this up to show what a nice portrait this is. It really is a beautiful portrait. Yes. But then just seeing the surfaces and learning a little bit more to what to look for and what is acceptable. And this coin would be fine to own as far as I'm concerned. So they have it estimated, fully out of what I think it should be, what it should cost. Their minimums are very close to the estimates. They're not really giving a whole lot of room. So and when I see this is kind of like the situation where you're like, would you want to pay 1,200 euros, put whatever the BP is plus the euro to the dollar? You're like, no, I'd rather pay like 800. But they don't allow it because they didn't set the reserves low enough. And so they're going to scare off a lot of people from wanting to bid because basically it's almost like buying the coin by just bidding on it because it's so close to the estimate at that point. So that's why it makes sense for auction houses to start with low estimates because it draws people in. This doesn't draw me in the same way. So, and this is a good example of that as well. So it's good to look at different auction houses, see what they have. If you're looking at an auction house that doesn't necessarily sell ancients all the time, you have to use your gut and know that sometimes if you don't feel right about a coin because it doesn't look right or it doesn't have a pedigree or whatever, and because sometimes coin may not look right, but then it has a really stellar pedigree and you're like, okay, maybe it's just not a variety I've seen before. And so sometimes that pedigree can build a little bit of confidence as well. But it's kind of like the wild, wild west, right? With a lot of these auction houses, you don't really know. You don't know who you're dealing with. You're not used to them. And so sometimes you just have to, it's a little bit of a leap of faith, but it's good to go out there and just look at a lot of different auction houses and just get a feel for them and just see what it's all about. And so
you should never shop in only one market anyway. You should try and look at as many places as you can because it's those less attended, those less known auctions that you might find just a little hidden gem and you might be able to get away with paying a little less for it.
Well, and I'll tell you guys, sometimes you really have to, it's all about sometimes just showing up at the auction because I can tell you in the Noonan sale, their second sale, they gave us a half an hour break so the auction started at 6 a.m. my time. And I went from 6 a.m. until about 1:30. And they were about 2 hours late starting the second session. So they gave us a half an hour. It was supposed to start at 4 o'clock. Their time started at 6 instead. So they were 2 hours behind. And so I basically went and got a sandwich, sat back down at my computer, got ready. And then I noticed they had a different auctioneer and they started up really quick. And there was a really nice Thracian Decadrachm, which was the first lot. And they were getting ready to close it at 7,000 pounds, or 6,000 pounds, which would have been really cheap because it was a nice coin. And so I threw a bid on it and it was getting ready to close. And then all of a sudden bids started coming in right at the end. And sometimes people the auction house, they don't start on time or or you get a different auctioneer and they move faster and people just, I think some people just fell asleep and weren't ready. And so that's the risk of going to
auction. You may very well have stolen that coin. It just didn't happen this time, but
it was really close.
Yeah.
It was really close. And I've been in auction rooms where I've bought a coin for a hell of a lot less than I thought, and then all of a sudden I hear somebody in the room, because let's say I'm at the auction. It happened at Triton many times in New York, and then all of a sudden somebody goes, "Hey, can you reopen?" They'd be 2 lots later, and they'd be like, "Hey, can you reopen such and such lot?" And I missed my bid, and they'd be like, "If it goes to the book, they'll open it. If it goes to the floor or to the internet, they will not."
Oh yeah, if somebody won, they're not going to go back and take it away from them.
Correct. And that person may have had a bid that was the one that missed it, might have had a bid that was a hell of a lot more than the bid that, I won the coin for. So that kind of stuff happens all the time. That's why I always tell people, when they demand that their stuff go to auction, I'm like, sometimes auctions aren't the best venue at all times because shit happens.
Well, it's funny because I had this conversation with somebody in the shop the other day, and I was telling him, he says, "Well, I can't believe that, it's like it would go to auction and this would possibly go down." And I'm like, look, you need to understand that not only do you need to have somebody with deep pockets that wants it, in order to really get a good price, in order to get a high price, you need two.
Right.
And so if there are not two people in the room that have the means to run the price up, there are times when bargains will be had.
The other thing too is auction houses don't do you any favors when they run four coins all of the same type in a row,
right,
that are very close in quality. And let's say you consign the fourth one. By the time they get to the fourth coin, somebody's getting a deal. and so I wouldn't want to have consigned a coin and then find out later they had 4 or 5 others. I would be pissed, because especially they ran mine last, and it's always that it chances are it always happens the last one or this third and fourth one go really cheap. And so you just have to, that's the problem with auctions, guys. It really is gambling. And so it might pay off, it may not. You don't know about the auction house. Some auction houses like Heritage are going to make you slab everything. They're going to make you pay for it, unless you have some amazing collection that they're going to pay all the slabbing fees. But I doubt it. So you might end up with a huge price tag of amounts of money you got to spend on slabs. And then on top of it, you got to then be at the mercy of the NGC slabbing gods of how they actually slab the piece. And you may have bought it from an auction house that says mint state, and they come back with VF with brushed. And now all of a sudden it doesn't bring what it should. And so the venue matters. What kind of coins are in the auction matters. Where the auction is. There's so many variables. I mean, like, there's people like, America is a really big, ancient coins is very much a world collecting endeavor,
yes.
And it's hard to get all of the time zones in a live sale together at the same time. Europe they're trying to do better with it. So like, okay, the Noonan Stale, they started at 1:00. That's about as late as they could probably start. It starts at 6 a.m. Chicago time. It starts at 7:00 New York time. It starts at 4 a.m.
in LA,
California time,
and 3 a.m. in Hawaii.
So it's very difficult. If I had an auction and it was a premier sale, and I only had 400 or 500 coins to sell, I might start that sale at 4:00, because it's going to be a much better time zone for everybody. And Europe, okay, they got to stay up a little bit later, but at least it's falling into everybody's time zone. When Gorney and Mosh, and they do this a lot, I don't know, I haven't been in their sales in a while, but they would start their, and a lot of the auction houses, some of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have stopped doing it. They're starting their auctions at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. my time, and California, that's fine, starting at midnight, but it really, you're not doing any favors for the consigner, because people aren't going to wake up, people are going to miss their alarms. There's all kinds of things that can happen when you start an auction that early in the morning. So
there are limits to what people will do and how far they'll go out of their way for something that brings them joy.
For sure. So I guess that's going to bring me to, since we're talking about auctions, this show is really a lot of it about auction. So I thought I would bring up, instead of doing an educational section, I thought I would bring up, there is a great sale coming up. It's the Numa sale, the Nomo sale. And Mike, if you go to the terms of sale at the top, and if you read, it says that this sale only is at the very top. It's 28% hammer fee. So, you know, I just talked about this earlier, and
28% is gouging.
It's a crazy price. The coins are spectacular. I talked to somebody at Nomos who told me that it was kind of out of their control, that the family demanded it, that somebody else who was part of the negotiation for this collection kind of forced their hand before they got to Nomos, and that they had to do this. My answer to them was, you should explain to the family that they're going to lose money by doing that. On the extra percentage that they think they're going to make, they're actually losing, because I have had 5 clients cancel bids for the sale. They don't want anything to do with it. They don't care about that the coins are spectacular. They're boycotting the sale because of the buyer's premium. And because basically when you set a BP this high, you're basically saying that it's okay for the buyers to pay for it. So you need the buyers to come in to help support the sale, and you're kicking them in the teeth for bidding in your sale so that you can help enrich everybody involved. And it's probably, honestly, Nomos is probably not making hardly any money on this. They're probably giving most of the buyer's premium to the sellers. And it's a really dangerous, slippery slope, because I remember when I came into the coin business, it was always that the sellers got 10%. They gave 10% to the auction house, and the buyers paid 15%. Okay. And then it went up to 18%. Right. And then it went up to 20%. And now it's at 22.5% or 23%, or even in Noonan's 24%. When people come into this sale and they pay the 28%, it tells the auction houses and rest of the consigners out there who have great collections that this is acceptable. It's not. It's not acceptable.
Well, I don't know if you were able to actually read those terms of service, with them up on the screen, but be glad you're not in Switzerland, because then there's an additional 7% on top of that for VAT.
For VAT, correct.
That's so.
I mean, the coins are spectacular, but there's always going to be another sale. Like the Noonan sale had great coins. NAC always has great coins. There's always going to be, there was a Morton and Eden last year had a fantastic sale, amazing coins. So there's always going to be a collection that comes up that's fantastic. It's not like this is a one and done. Like, if I don't buy these coins, I'm not going to have great coins to buy again. That's not true. There are always going to be great coins. I hope this doesn't hurt them too bad. The other thing what it does is, because I had one client say, well, if I bid, I'm going to bid far less because I'm going to make up for that percentage. So I think it's up to the auction houses to inform these consigners that it's not okay to get so much of the BP. So, I mean, I don't know if this started primarily with Heritage, but I know Heritage did a lot of this. And so this kind of spiraled out of control.
Paying hammers over 100% a hammer.
Yeah. So like in US coins, I know they'll pay up to 112%. So, and and I've seen stacks on a big US deal that we brought them where they were only working on, I think they're working on 6 or 7%, something like that. And so, I mean, luckily Heritage and Stacks have still stuck with 20%. I can tell you Sotheby's just lowered they were, I think, at 25 or 26%. They lowered their BP across the board to 20% because they're hurting. And now I was told another reason is because they sell a lot of modern art that they sell for big money. And a lot of the dealers that bring them consignments want a piece of it. And so if everybody's getting a piece, then it puts the auction house in a very difficult position. And so they just lowered it to 20% so they can tell the dealers, you go get it from the seller.
Right.
Don't take it from us.
Look, buyers look at the price they pay as an aggregate, right? It doesn't matter how you wrap it up, what shell you put it underneath, right? It's like, I've got a bottom line of what I want to spend, and that's going to be that. So, let's get, I guess, more accurate in where we're sending the money and how we're describing that.
Yep. And the other thing is, like, okay, I represent clients in auction. I charge 5% on the hammer, and I only charge it if I'm successful. And sometimes I'll lower it, but generally that's not the case. And I do a lot of work for clients for that. I also a lot of times don't always charge them shipping. I will import the stuff and not charge them the import. If I'm making decent money, I'm not going to charge them. If I have to pay for armor car from Europe and it costs me $2,000, I don't charge them. So I do a lot of perks for my clients. And so I can't tell my clients that okay, well, this sale's 28%. Oh, I'll work on 2.5%. So you only have to pay me 30.5%. Right. Or if I did my full 5%, am I going to really charge them 32%? 34%. So it's 33%. So it's I wouldn't do that to my client. And so in that situation, I would just say, go bid on yourself. Like the Noonan sale, I prepared for the Noonan sale for 2 months, almost doing evaluations, figuring out what clients should bid. I did a lot of work. I do a lot of that time, a lot of that stuff I do at home at night or on the weekends. I'll have
and then there's the auction that you do all that work, you sit up, you wait for it, it comes up, and you end up not winning,
and I don't get paid.
Right. And then there's really nothing to pay you for.
No.
Well, there's something to pay you for, but truly not.
Some people, I know some dealers, they charge a fee for just doing it. I won't do that to my clients. I like working with them in conjunction with them. It's just, they're taking a risk on me. I'm taking a risk on them. We're all taking a risk together. So that's the way I look at it.
Well, why should they pay for not buying a coin? Right.
Well, they're getting my time for free.
They're getting a service. I get that, but that's part of what makes you different.
Look, and I'm perfectly fine with the scenario that I have with clients, and so they trust me to spend their money. I have to be really careful about how I spend it. Sometimes I get nervous because I'm not sure. Like we talk, like let's go over a click, but then if somebody else got the click before, now it's like, well, it's 2 clicks, it's not 1 click. So it's like, I'm not really sure, so I have to use my gut. I have to go with like, how rare is the coin? Is it something we can get again? All that stuff has to be thought in on the fly. It's not so easy all the time. So, and I have to be there, show up and handle it. So anyway, I'm kind of taking a stand on this, and I'm not really, it's nothing against Nomos really. It's just about the auction world in general. And the fact is that the auction houses are giving so much away to the consigners that they're passing off the fees to the buyers, which are the people that feed them. Yes, the consigners feed them, but the buyers are really what make the auction happen, and it's like, it's gotten out of hand. It's gotten so
There's
out
no
of hand.
profit without the buyers.
No, it's just gotten out of hand. And so I understand, like, I've got some clients that are like, I had one client who gave me a really long list, and he's basically, and I had to tell him because I didn't want him to like find out later. And I didn't tell him. I said, hey, because I didn't know, and somebody told me, because I would have thought they were at 23.5. And look, Nomo said it's just one sale. This is the only, but it's a slippery slope. If the sale is extremely successful and no one gives them too much hate mail, then the chances of it happening again, or somebody else saying, well, Nomos did it, so we can do it. That's kind of what happened with NAC. NAC was kind of the first ancient company that started doing 22 or 23%. And then all of a sudden C&G started doing it. Then Nomos doing it. Romo was doing it. It's like
once you break that ceiling, it's like then everybody else piles on.
That's right. And so, I can't, anyway, my client said, well, cancel all the bids because I'm not going to bid. And,
right. That's truly a risk that an auction house will take.
Now,
and I don't think sometimes they realize it.
Now, this could be an opportunity for somebody. If no one's bidding in the sale, you might get some good deals in the sale. So maybe show up and bid. That's up to you. But I had to be truthful with my clients, and I had 3 other clients that said, hey, I want to bid on this coin in Nomos, and I said, hey, just letting you know what the BP is, and they're like, oh, forget it, I don't want to bid. They just automatically were turned off. And so,
and as far as somebody showing up and getting a deal, sometimes you get rewarded for just showing up.
Sometimes. But I just think I wish the auction houses. I was told that I said really the auction houses should come together and standardize things, but I guess that's illegal. But I think it's also
that's fixing a market. You can't do that as a cartel.
I know, but it's like you're fixing it in the wrong direction, though. You should be fixing it in a positive direction, not in a negative direction. You know what I mean?
Here's my argument about it, though, is that I don't think the fee structure is going to change. I think what just really needs to happen is more transparency and just a more accurate description of what it is, just being more forward about, okay, this is buyer's premium. This is going to go to the seller's premium. This is, this, all that kind of stuff. And just be more upfront.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if it was me, I would have probably passed on this. If I was the auction house, I would have passed on this deal if it came to me and they said you had to do this. Or I would have just eaten 2 or 3% across the board and try to make it more in line, take it down to 24% like Noonan's, that would have been more manageable. To jump up to 28, that's kind of a tough one to swallow. So for a lot of clients, and a lot of clients, look, there's so many auctions now, and they keep coming and coming and coming, that it's easy to take a break from one if you need to. It's not like you have
see what kind of money some of these guys are making, and they're like, I want in.
Correct. So, and that's kind of my pearl of wisdom, that there's always another coin. There's always another coin. I tell this to my clients all the time. They lose something in auction, like, oh my God. Unless it's like a one-of-a-kind piece, it's like there's always another coin. Don't get so freaked out because you missed out on a coin.
There'll be another one. Yeah. So it's like there are very few coins, period, that are unique.
Right.
So there's always at least a handful of them. And take my word on this. Trust me, the next one will always be a little bit nicer. It almost always is too.
It's true. It's true. It's unless it's a coin you've been waiting for 20 years to come up. Okay, I get that. And if you have all the money in the world, I understand. I get it. Or there's some kind of attachment to that specific coin for some reason. I get that. But in general, if you're collecting and you're buying a lot of material on a regular basis, or even if you're just buying a coin a month, there's always another coin. There's always going to be something new. There's always another day. There's always.
I don't know of anybody who's one coin away from completing their entire collection.
Maybe a set.
Right. One set, but there's always something else that they could buy. So there's always going to be something that you can concentrate on in your collection that is available and should be, reasonable.
I mean, Peter Lorick, we had the Lorick collection of Roman Egyptian coins, and Peter, he built a Roman Egyptian collection, I think 3 times. He kept buying them and selling them, and then he'd sell, and he was in his late 80s. And so he just liked building the same sets over and over and over again.
He knew the set.
He knew the set, he knew the rarity, and he had fun with it. So as soon as when he finished what he thought was complete, he would sell it, then get the money and start buying again.
Yeah, they'd be like, I want to do that again.
I mean, sometimes it's about the hunt for people, Yeah,
and well, I think to a certain coin collector, that is coin collecting. It's all about the hunt. It's about finding stuff, right now. For people that know me, I collect this really obscure, provincial Canadian coinage, and it's like there's 6 coins left for me to find, and it's like it's the hunt because they're not easy to find. They don't come up every day. Yes, if I wanted to really dig deep in my pockets, I could spend way too much and I could finish, but that's not what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
I want to find a decent coin at a decent price that fits really well with the rest of the collection. It's just the hunt.
It's true. Well, that's our show for tonight.
Yeah. So I think this was very informative. It was fun. And the graphics are coming along really well. So
good job, Mike. Good
thanks.
job.
Thanks, Mike.
Good job.
Okay, good job.
All right. Thanks, guys, for all the support. We're getting close to 100,000 subscribers, which
we're getting close.
Really
by
cool.
Next show, maybe
we'll see.
Yeah.
But
I'm all the support. Thanks for all the kind words. Thanks for posting all the nice things that you do in the comments. Please share, like, subscribe. Do those things for our stuff. To be honest with you, it's like we don't really care if YouTube monetizes it. We just want more people to see it.
Guys, you know how much we've made off how much we've monetized off this show?
I think it was what, $4?
$165. So we're not doing this for the money. No. Put it that way.
It's definitely not going to make
you. I mean, for you to make money off of YouTube, you have to millions of followers.
Yeah.
I mean, it just
we're not Jenna Marbles. That's not who we are.
That's not. But it's fun to know that the show is growing, that we have a wide audience. It's nice to know that we're all learning ancient coins together. Whether you come and visit the show once and never come back, or you come back every show. So we all are a community that love ancient coins, and or Mike, and we're teaching him ancient coins. Right. So
wow, that hurt. Shots fired.
but ultimately it's all about the community and numismatics as a whole. So thank you for the support, and thank you for all the nice comments, the nice emails I've gotten from people. Really, really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, and when we see people in person, for all the just really nice reactions that we get. So if that's it, I do want to mention that if you are thinking about your holidays and you have you need a bottle of wine, I would recommend find yourself a nice bottle of Bellinger. They're fun wines from fun people, and they're friends of the Ancient Podcast. So how could you go wrong?
It's really good wine, actually.
It actually is. It's like, you get yourself a nice Syrah, nice Pinot. They had a Pinot Noir rosé, that they were doing. It's a family-owned winery and really good stuff. So you should check it out.
Yeah, and we drink our sponsorship, so it works.
We definitely do. Yes.
So I mean, that's
the best kind of pay.
And if you ever go to their Instagram page, it's really cool. I follow his Instagram, and they're showing like how they're sometimes what he's doing in the fields and like stuff that's going around at the winery. I mean, really cool life. So kind of fun.
Craftsman.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So for the Ancient Coin Podcast and for Aaron Berk, I'm Mike Nottleman. We will talk to you on episode 53. Thanks everybody for listening. Good night.
Thanks for listening to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. We'll return with another episode soon. Meantime, you can join our private group on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search the Groups tab for Ancient Coin Podcast Discussion Group and ask to join. There you can become part of our community, where we share and discuss ancient coins, as well as the show, the Ancient Coin Market, auctions, or just to give our own opinions on things in order to learn together. Join Aaron and Mike again soon for the next episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk.